Meet Jack Conroy, a young man from San Francisco who has just arrived in Alaska. It's 1896 and the gold rush is in full swing. Before even putting down his bags, he's approached by a fellow explorer seeking any kind of partnership. His name is Beauty, believe it or not. He proudly shows Jack the dog he's planning to train. Dog fights are very profitable around here. Beauty introduces Jack to two of his friends, Luke and Tinker. The three of them are all excited about finding some gold. Jack needs to find a man named Alex Larson. They pretend to know the guy, but Jack can see right through them. He begins to suspect the trio. They're a bit too eager to help him, so he tells them to back off, but it's about a moment too late. The gang is out of his sight before he can notice that he was already robbed. He tries to complain about it, but gets mocked. What did he expect from this place? These people are literally gold diggers. To find Alex Larson, Jack must go up the golden staircase. That is an ironic nickname to a very steep climb that is about a mile long. Single file is the only way to move, which means you'll get in trouble if you stop. Reaching the top, Jack gets to an improved camp just as crowded as the docks. Everyone is carrying heavy gear and unrealistic ambitions. At least someone is able to point him in the right direction, and he finally meets Alex Larson. Jack makes sure to mention he had sent a letter, but it doesn't make much of a difference. Alex replies that everyone knows he can't read. These two are not off to a great start. So the boy begins to explain a little more. His father was Scott Conroy, and he sent Jack a letter from here. The letter had gold dust all over it to prove his success. It also contained detailed maps. Jack needs help getting to that location. He tells Alex he can share the gold with him in exchange for guidance. Alex dismisses the boy coldly. He says everyone here has some gold dust to write home about. He knew Scott Conroy. He didn't dig up anything of substance. Jack's better off with a regular job in San Francisco. While he's talking to the boy, Alex is also arranging some kind of funeral. The person in the casket was a man named Dutch. He was the third musher in this group. Now it's just Alex and his old friend, Skunker. Fortunately, Skunker has a much more positive outlook on life than Alex. He is also very warm with Jack and happy to share his memories about Scott. But when he begins to ask if the boy is joining them, Alex snaps at him angrily. He is convinced that the boy won't last a day in the wilderness. But Jack didn't come all this way to turn around because of a grumpy guy. He says he'll go anyway, with or without their help. If Alex is so convinced of his weakness, then he should be ready to carry a frozen boy in his conscience forever. How could he argue with that? Alex has no choice but to let him join them with a warning about not being a dead weight. Skunker is delighted at the cheerful company. Soon, their dog's sled is cutting through the fog and into the wilderness. They need to stop from time to time to switch their tasks and avoid exhaustion, and that gives Jack an opportunity to admire the landscape. The place is stunning, but the dangers are many. Jack is terrified to see a pack of wolves has been stealthy following the trio. Alex has a shotgun, and he uses to scare them away. At night, the explorers find a suitable spot and set up camp. Alex is on the verge of losing his patience with the newbie, and Skunker thinks that having brought a toothpaste is a sign of obsessive hygiene. The boy has also a small accident involving the fire after being told not to stand too close. Skunker puts it out with a laugh, but Alex sees this as a teachable moment. He proceeds to dump Jack's stuff on the ground. He has no need for all that here, and it exhausts the dogs for no good reason. From now on, he'll have to carry what he intends to keep. Skunker tells them both to cut the crap, at least while he's feeding the dogs. But then he's the one who comes back agitated. He had 7 fish for 7 dogs, but one of them is still hungry. A wolf must have infiltrated the pack and got fed. Any talk about wolves gets Jack's attention right away, but Alex clarifies that his best friend is a lunatic, except that he is totally right. There was a female dog among those 7, and she is now feeding their fish to her pup, not far from the men. In the morning, they resume the journey. There's a tricky slope on their path, and Jack's inexperience gets them in trouble. Trying to help him, Alex gets stuck too. It's up to Skunker to save them now, but he actually makes it worse. His rope snaps, and the sled goes tumbling down the hill. Now their stuff is spread all over a frozen lake, and even Dutch decides to rise and shine. Jack bravely volunteers to retrieve their stuff, deaf to Skunker's advice against it. It's not long before the ice gives in, and he's plunged into the freezing water. Alex hurries to pull him out of the lake before the poor boy turns into a popsicle. Then, Skunker uses one of Jack's books to make a fire and keep him warm. Between Jack's recovery and Dutch's retrieval, that date is lost. At night, the men begin to assess the damage, realizing there's very little ammo left. That's when they hear a howling sound, way closer than it should be, and Jack sees that same female wolf. Skunker says she is part dog, and this is how the wolves operate. They send a half-wolf over so she can lure one of the dogs to them. Just as he's explaining the process, his favorite dog is up and ready to enact it. Skunker despairs to see that and grabs the shotgun. Alex tries to stop him, but he's so determined to save his dog that he goes after them in the dark. When they notice the other wolves around him, it's already too late. They are spared the scene, but not the horrid cries. Alex says there's nothing they can do now. Skunker is gone, so they round up the dogs as close as possible and stay together until daybreak. But even when the morning comes, they're not safe. The wolves were only waiting until they put out the fire to attack them. Suddenly, a few gunshots are heard. That female wolf gets hit, and the rest of them run away. Alex and Jack are saved by another team of explorers. Meanwhile, that female wolf is badly injured now. She manages to get back to her pup, but doesn't survive for too long after that. Then the pack simply leaves the little guy behind to fend for himself. He tries to find food and water the best way he can, while also avoiding the scary humans. By coincidence, Jack is looking for water at the same place as the baby wolf. As the pup is also part dog and still small, the boy is not afraid and begins to whistle to him. Baby wolf takes one look at this gold digger and goes, "Not today, Satan." When Alex's dogs begin to bark, the baby wolf seems to reconsider. Maybe these two are nice people after all. But he's too hungry to make friends now. He's also too clumsy to catch anything and resorts to a suspiciously easy prey just hanging there, waiting for him. Of course, it turns out to be a trap. Meanwhile, Jack is getting tired of this kind of hustle. He asks Alex where he is planning to bury Dutch, but soon gives up on getting a straight answer. While they keep going further, Baby Wolf is rescued by two Native Americans, Gray Beaver and Little Beaver. They examine their new pet carefully and decide to name him White Fang. A few hours later, Dutch finally arrives at his resting place. Jack prompts his guide to say a few words, since he never met the guide when he was breathing. Surprisingly, Alex confesses he never liked him. It was just something he had to do. Now they're free to go to Klondike, and they reach the town 2 days later. Eager to get rid of Junior, Alex gives him a few directions on where to find a new partner and a place to sleep. But he won't get away that easily. Jack goes to a bar where a lively crowd is already spending all that imaginary gold, and he sees Alex is also there. He is talking to a pretty lady named Belinda in a more than friendly way. Unfamiliar with the concept of a third wheel, Jack comes over to say hi. Belinda is delighted to meet Scott's son. She tells him that she actually owns the bar and even offers him a drink, but Alex cuts it short. He asks Jack if he doesn't have any gold to be digging right now. Jack takes the hint and leaves the bar. Which doesn't mean the saga is over. A few days later, he runs into Belinda again. She invites him over for dinner, and he obviously accepts. Alex is also there, and he's not too happy to see that bad penny coming back. He tells Jack he should leave, but the boy is beyond stubborn. The truth is that he doesn't want to find a new musher. He likes Alex and wants him to guide him further. Alex can see that this boy won't shut up until he agrees, so he does. Jack returns the favor by leaving them alone tonight, but not before he borrows a book from Belinda's collection. Let's hope this one won't turn into firewood. Speaking of wood, Jack is now building a boat. He's happy to see Alex making corrections, as it means he'll honor the promise. But he makes it clear that they're not partners. He'll just take him to Scott's claim of land, as they agreed before. Weeks go by and White Fang is fully grown now. Catching a fish is no longer a problem for this big boy. He's not the only one making progress, of course. Jack has finished the boat and celebrates it with a new hat. Alex says goodbye to Belinda, and the boy says he won't look if they kiss. He makes zero effort to keep that promise. So Alex sets sails with his persistent companion. Their first stop is a Han tribe settlement. Alex says he knows their chief, and they can get some rest for the night. And it turns out that the chief is none other than Gray Beaver, which means Jack gets to see White Fang again. They don't really recognize each other, but their connection is still there. Jack tries to pet the wolf, but Gray Beaver stops him. He says dogs are work tools. If you treat them like your friends, they won't obey you. Jack immediately dislikes this guy. In the morning, some of the girls begin to giggle when they meet Jack. The boys from the tribe are not as amused. But there's nothing to worry about, actually. Jack only has eyes to White Fang now. So much so, he even fails to notice a giant bear until it actually attacks him. Jack runs and finds a place to hide, but that bear is determined to get him. But now Jack has an ally in the animal world. The two beasts begin to growl at each other, while the boy watches everything and tries to keep his pants dry. Eventually, the bear gives up on the fight and turns around. He didn't sign up for this. Before leaving the tribe, Jack offers a treat to his savior and swears he won't forget him. Gray Beaver doesn't bother to voice his opinion about this behavior. Finally, Jack makes it his father's piece of land, 1 year after he arrived in Alaska. Alex says Scott wanted to be buried there. After going through some of the old photos, Jack talks about his family. His dad was away for too long. Even when his mom said that it was to give them a better life, all Jack wanted was to have his dad home. And then, his mom got sick, and he lost her too. Now that Jack is safely delivered to his destination, Alex is free to go, right? Of course not. Once again, Jack guilt trips him into staying a bit more, just to help him set up the whole digging. Yeah, sure. Back in Klondike, White Fang is causing a commotion during Gray Beaver's visit. The men who organize dogfights are astonished at this Native American parading the domesticated wolf all over town. Remember that guy named Beauty? He's still ugly. Those two crooks are still part of the gang too. Mesmerized by White Fang, they have the terrible idea to run a quick test, involving that same poor dog that arrived with Beauty. Obviously, the dog is not a match to an actual wolf and gets badly hurt. But now they're blaming Gray Beaver and demanding payment. They tell him that it's illegal to bring wolves to this area. Afraid of ending up in jail, Gray Beaver lets them have the wolf as their compensation. White Fang is locked up immediately, and then he immediately jumps over that pathetically little door. The three clowns are shocked to learn that wolves can jump. Between the three of them, you'll hardly get a whole brain. Soon, their cruel training begins. At least it's not easy on them either. The trio of geniuses then realizes that a wolf like that needs no training to fight common dogs. In fact, it's a totally unfair fight. Beauty keeps provoking the wolf and then unleashes his powerful rage on the opponent. White Fang wins several fights and the money rolls in. Up on the Conroy land, Alex has completely given up on the idea of parting ways with Jack. The boy is even teaching him how to read. He's not a very patient teacher, though. The isolation is taking its toll on both of them now, and they begin to fight over little things. Alex suggests a short trip to Klondike. They get there on the same day as a certain Mr. Skies, decides to defy Beauty's famous invincible wolf. He places a $5,000 bet on his killer bulldog. Beauty looks concerned for the first time, but he can't risk losing his reputation. Alex and Jack get to watch the end of the horrible fight. Jack immediately recognizes his fanged friend, and he is losing. Beauty refuses to stop the fight, in the hope of a last-minute recovery that could turn the results around. When he steps in to strike the wolf, Jack can't help but to intervene. The police arrive right after that, not giving Beauty a chance to protest much as everyone begins to run. Jack takes the wolf to Belinda, and they tend to his wounds. The next day, Alex helps him carry the patient to their home. Nursing him back to health is not as hard as undoing the behavioral damage. Beauty trained him to hate and attack. Now Jack has to teach him to be a friend again. And one thing we know about Jack is that he never gives up. Not even after getting bitten. With a lot of love and even more raw meat, he slowly rebuilds that bond they once shared. Sometime later, there's an accident in their mine and Jack gets stuck. Alex rushes to help him and sees the wolf is already on it. They work together to save the boy, and Alex is surprised to see something for the first time in years. Gold. Jack must go to Klondike to have it tested and certified. Luke sees him in town and alerts Beauty. The gang follows them back home. In the middle of the night, they set the cabin on fire. White Fang immediately defends his home and attacks one then, who accidentally fires his gun and hits Luke. The next one in line for those jaws is Beauty himself. Everyone survives the incident, but the 3 criminals are taken to the police. Alex decides to go back to San Francisco with Belinda, and Jack finally lets him go, now that he has White Fang's company. And this is the end. This was a recap of the 1991 movie White Fang by Walt Disney Pictures, starring Ethan Hawke and Klaus Maria Brandauer. So, which character was the most likable? What was the best part of this story? Let us know in the comments below with #CinemaRecap. Until next time.